With that now, we're going to start into our leadership series that Doc Friend does for us on Thursdays. And let me close the curtain for a minute so I can get prepared. and then we'll open up the curtain and go through our leadership series for tonight, which is on the law of magnetism?
That's correct.
All right. So without further ado, we're going to turn over to Dr. Friend, and he's going to go through the law of magnetism. Take it away, Dr. Friend.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Casper, and good evening again, folks. Tonight we're going to have an actual participation phase to the training. So I've asked you at the beginning of the webinar to get out a paper and a pencil and be able to take some notes. So I want you to keep those close to hand because we're going to have a little exercise here where you're going to be writing some stuff down. So tonight we're in law number 9 of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, and I'm having a lot of fun doing this because, you know, there's an old adage in education that says that the number of times over the material equals mastery of the material. And, you know, we all can use continual education. And having been in the profession for 25 years as a dental specialist, it was really quite fascinating because I thought it was expensive to get my degree, to go into practice, and what I learned that I had to spend the equivalent of a college tuition every year for 25 years when I was in practice just to stay current, stay on top, be on top, and keep my licensure and my specialty credentials in full compliance and certification. So, you know, learning and education have become a lifelong endeavor and a daily activity for me. And folks, it's no different in this industry. And in fact, I'm really convinced that it's no different in every industry. If you are successful in life, you are successful because you are a continual of life. And so I'm having fun doing this because I'm going back over materials which I haven't really spent time consciously looking at and understanding. And it really is kind of fun because we do a lot of things unconsciously when we get to that wonderful state of unconscious competence. But at a position of unconscious competence, when you go back and reacquaint yourself or reimmerse yourself in those actions, beliefs, thoughts, you know, behaviors that are the source of your success, you can even make them stronger. So tonight we're going to talk about the law of magnetism, and very simply stated, it is who you are is who you attract. Now, effective leaders are always on the lookout for good people. And do you know, who are you looking for right now in your Mandura business? What's the perfect profile of your perfect partners? What qualities do you think these people possess, or what qualities would you love for them to possess? And so what I want you to do is stop now, and I want you to take about 2 or 3 minutes, and I want you to make a list of 5 qualities that you'd like to see in the ideal partners or people joining your team. And I want you to title that list, "My team members would have these qualities, colon." And so take a couple minutes now and write down things that you want your ideal team members to have. And when you're done that, would you press the can they raise their hands, Casper, on their panels?
Yes, they can.
Okay. When you finished your 5, would you please raise your hand so that I know you're done, and we'll move forward here. I'll keep track. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time, but 5 qualities. It shouldn't take anybody more than 2 or 3 minutes to do this.
Yeah, I didn't know. I could have done some music, but I didn't know you were going to do this.
I know. That's why I'm doing the Jeopardy thing.
Right.
All right. All right. Is everybody excellent? Well, let's move on then. And so, now what really determines whether the people you want on your team are the people you actually get, and whether the people that you get will possess the qualities that you desire. And believe it or not, folks, who you get is not determined by what you want. It's determined by who you are. I want you to go back to the list you just made, and next to each characteristic you identified, I want you to honestly assess and see if you yourself possess that quality. For example, if you wrote that you would like self-starters, and you are one, then that's a match, and put a check by it. But if that doesn't describe you, then put an X next to it. And if you wrote that you want people that are entrepreneurial and you feel that you possess that quality, then put your check. Otherwise, mark it with an X, and so on down through your list of 5 characteristics. So do that. I'll give you a minute, and then I want you to review the whole list.
Are we taking questions?
If we have questions, we can certainly entertain them.
Well, we have a hand raised. I don't know if she was raised.
Oh, she finished her list.
Okay.
And if I'm mistaken, Ms. V, type in a question. I'll be happy to answer it. All right. Now, if you see a whole bunch of X's, then you might be in trouble, because the people you describe are not the types of people that are going to be motivated to follow you. And in most situations, you're going to draw people to you who possess the same qualities that you do. And that is, folks, the law of magnetism. Who you are is who you attract. Can I have slide 2, Casper? People like you will seek you out. Now, it is possible for a leader to go out and recruit people unlike himself, but those are not the people that he or she will naturally attract. Good leaders know that one secret to success is to staff or recruit to their weaknesses. And that way they can focus and function in their areas of strength while others take care of important matters that might otherwise get neglected in the group growth. So if you know that you're a fair to mediocre recruiter, then you might want to go out and actually recruit and enroll people who are excellent recruiters. And that way you can have that group that you can then motivate and lead to further success. Next slide. Where do they match up? Well, maybe you've started thinking about the people that you've attracted to your organization. And you might say to yourself, wait a minute, Doc Fran, I things that make my people different from me. And my response would be, of course you can. But the people who are drawn to you probably have far more similarities than differences, especially in some few key areas. You'll probably find that you and the people who follow you share common ground in several key areas. Next slide, please. And the first one is attitude. Rarely have I seen positive and negative people attracted to one another. People who view life as a series of opportunities and exciting challenges don't want to sit around and listen to others talk about how bad things are all the time. I know that that's true for me, and I really can't think of a negative person in my organizations. So, look for people who have attitudes, particularly a positive attitude. Next slide, please. Generation, what's that mean? Well, people tend to attract people of roughly the same age, and my top leaders are a good example. They look like a good group of people that will all want to use hair coloring, for instance, and so and here's one of the things that you want to do. If you know that people of a different generation might be more aggressive, more excited about, or more willing to work, then that's an area where you as a leader would look to recruit and enroll people of different age groups so that you can get a feeling for which age group has the most natural affinity for the business that you're doing. Next slide, please. Background. Well, look at the dynamics in the groups. And a lot of the people that are in the groups are going to be people that are not only the similar generation to you, but also of similar backgrounds. President Ted Roosevelt was one primary example of how powerful this particular attribute is in the law of magnetism. Now, Ted Roosevelt personally recruited his all-volunteer cavalry army, and it was said to be a remarkably peculiar group because it was comprised primarily of two distinct types of men. The first group were wealthy aristocrats from the Northeast. The second group were really down-home cowboys and adventurers from the wild, wild West. So you'd ask yourself, well, how is it possible that the President of the United States at the time could attract, recruit, and lead such a diverse group of background individuals? Well, the answer is in Ted Roosevelt himself. Ted Roosevelt was an aristocratic-born, Harvard-educated New Yorker who turned himself into a real-life cowboy and big game hunter in the Dakotas of the West. He was such a strong and genuine person that he became a strong leader in both of those diverse worlds, and as a result, he could attract and lead both kinds of people, and in fact, virtually all kinds of people. Next slide, Casper. Values. People are attracted to leaders whose values are similar to their own. It doesn't matter whether the shared values are positive or negative, because either way, that attraction is equally strong. Think about someone like Adolf Hitler. He was a very strong leader, as you can judge by his level of influence and destruction in Europe. But his values were rotten to the core. And what kind of people did he attract? People with similar values. They were all strong leaders, but they were all utterly evil men. Now contrast him with President John Kennedy. And John Kennedy was a young idealist who wanted to change the world. And he attracted people with similar profiles. Many of us on the call will remember when he formed the Peace Corps and called people to service with his famous phrase, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." And we watched thousands of our contemporaries over the next 10, 20, 30, and even 40 years step forward to answer that challenge. Next slide, please. And finally, where does your group match up in leadership ability? People you attract will have leadership abilities very similar to your own. And if you recall back when I was discussing the law of respect, people naturally follow leaders stronger than themselves. But you also have to factor in the law of magnetism, which states that who you are is who you attract. And what does that mean in terms of leadership ability? Well, what that means is that if you're a 7 on the scale of 10 in leadership, then you're very more likely to draw 5s and 6s to you than 2s or 3s. And the leaders you attract will be similar in style and ability to you. And you know, there's really brilliance in that reality because people improve on gradients. You don't go from a 2 to a 10. You go from a 2 to a 3 and a 3 to a 5, 5 to a 6 or 7. And so a true leader is one who is moving through that gradient of leadership skills and in the process bringing behind him a following of people who are themselves resonating with your leadership and improving their leadership abilities because of your improving leadership abilities. That's why you often see in our industry where the same people follow the same leaders into larger and larger successes in life for themselves. Success breeds success. And finally, it just goes to show and prove the point that the better leader you are, the better leader you make yourself, the better leader that you aspire to be, the better leaders you will in turn attract. And trust me, folks, that has an incredible impact on everything that you do. If you think the people you attract could be better, then it's time for you to look in the mirror and ask, what can I do to improve myself? It all depends on you, guys. Who you are is who you attract, and like it or not, that is the law of magnetism. I appreciate your time and attention. Next week, we'll train on the law of connection.
Wow. Hey, thanks.